This lonely orphan was so disgusting nobody even bothered naming him. But he soon met a dark knight who groomed him into becoming the prince of all demons, and eventually the king. Long ago, the world was split into two realms. Floating above the clouds lied a kingdom throned by a noble white cat, who fell madly in love with a muddy black cat in the kingdom of darkness on the ground below. And that was how it all began. Our main protagonist, whose name is never mentioned, comes out of his hut to meet with the town elders for a hunting session and hopefully return with enough food for the village. One of the elders is excited to have some juicy meat after a long time. But deep inside he wished to live in the noble kingdom high up in the skies, where everyone could live without a worry in the world. Practically all of the people were suffering in the kingdom below as they lived in poverty and tyranny. Suddenly a guy who went scouting rushes in, screaming that vicious monsters are coming to slaughter them. Without a moment to spare, the monsters break through the gate and begin wreaking havoc upon the defenseless people. Panic spreads like wildfire as everyone runs to grab anything at their disposal to use as a weapon. The townswoman tasks the young boy to be in charge of all the children and to take them to a cave located at the outskirts of the town. The town starts to become under heavy attack. Meanwhile, the young boy quickly departs with the children. However, one of them trips over a rock, slowing them down. And suddenly a centipede monster appears and uses this opportunity to his full advantage to prey on them. In epic fashion, the young boy springs into action as he pulls out a dagger and takes on the scary beast. But it turns out its skin is harder than metal, so his slash does virtually nothing. The monstrous centipede manages to kill several of the children, and the young boy is left with only a pair of siblings. Realizing this beast is too powerful, they try to escape. But as the monster is right on their ass, the brother decides to sacrifice himself, telling the young boy to go and to take care of his sister. Eventually, the young boy reaches a cave with the little girl, but in the end she dies anyway due to the poison from the centipede. The young boy is devastated. At nightfall, he carries the little girl and heads back to the village only to find it dead silent. Everywhere his eyes would meet, he only saw dead bodies of the people he once knew. Not a single soul was left alive. In sheer despair, he picks up a shovel and starts digging a mass grave for his village all by himself. Days go by until we see a mysterious knight traveling alone. When he comes across our nameless protagonist digging, he reveals that he was in search of a village, to which the young boy says that it's gone. He offers the young boy some bread and tells him that he would die a meaningless death if he keeps digging like this alone. The knight introduces himself as Skier and sits with the young boy. He asks him his name, to which the young boy replies that he doesn't have one and to just call him whatever like the villagers once did. And thus he doesn't mind Skier calling him anything as well. The young boy asks Skier why the King of Darkness allows dangerous monsters to run rampant in this world. And Skier replies that the king has his own concerns and isn't bothered about superficial things like people's happiness. The young boy then decides to continue digging and tells Skier to leave him alone, as he believes he doesn't understand what he is going through. What he is doing may look pointless to everyone else, but this is what he feels he must do. He tells Skier that there's no point obsessing over the land and sky, as everyone is the same when you're in a hole. Suddenly Skier throws a sword at the young boy and tells him to pick it up, and stoically proclaims that there's a better way about this than digging a big grave. On instinct, the young boy picks up the sword and unsheathes it. Without hesitation, he goes head to head against Skier, who charges at him, and being way more experienced, he's easily able to break the young boy's guard multiple times. While fighting, Skier reveals that he was once the fool who tried to become the King of Darkness, but he wasn't chosen, and that the right to bestow death or life belonged to one person and one person only, the King of Darkness. During a skirmish, Skier makes the young boy realize that the only way he could possibly achieve his goals of making this country a better place is to become the King of Darkness himself. Skier makes him realize the sour reality that the young boy now needed to accept. No divine help would change his fate. He alone would have to do that. The young boy declares that he will become king and do whatever it takes. He charges towards Skier with all his strength and actually manages to thwart Skier's sword away. Skier begins eerily laughing, which confuses the young boy. He says that he never thought such a miracle would be waiting for him at the end, and moments later he falls to the ground. The young boy immediately shows concern for his short-lived master, who reveals that he was nearing the end of his life. Skier instructs him to take his sword and head to the capital, where he has a mansion, further revealing that he's actually from a noble family, and the one who bears that sword is considered its head. Skier tells the young boy to take the sword once again, and declare that he is the Prince of Darkness, successor to the King of Darkness. He also tells him about a knight called Valis, who he's sure will look after him if he sees his skill with a sword. Skier says he's been an empty shell for a long time and that his power of darkness was fading, hence he would soon perish. The world is not right as it stands, and entrusts the young boy to change it in his reign. Bearing a heavy burden on his shoulders, the young boy tears up over Skier's body, releasing a wave of light. This shocks Skier, as the young boy was born in the dark, but was able to bring forth such a light just from his tears. Before finally passing, Skier says he's counting on him, and with a newfound cause the young boy is determined to become the King of Darkness's successor, with the goal of making everyone in this world happy. Meanwhile, above the clouds, a horde of darkness approaches the White Kingdom. Refusing to give up the progenitor rune to the darkness, Queen Iris uses her weapon powered by the rune that creates a magical beam strong enough to significantly thin out the enemy numbers. The progenitor was a rune that was the most powerful out of all the other runes, which is why the monsters of darkness want it so badly. The brave knight Fuse leads the other knights of light into battle as they risk their lives to protect their queen and the rune. Iris's sister, a priestess named Shiama, also uses the power of the runes to cast a shield spell over the knights for extra protection. After successfully driving out the monsters of darkness, Queen Iris heads back to her castle. Knight Fuse's younger brother, called Theo, is excited to see his older brother along with the slim, thick priestess Shiama, who are returning from the battle. Shiama shares her concerns, believing that Iris is hesitating to kill the King of Darkness, since she believes darkness is essential for balance in the world. Fuse brushes off her concerns, reassuring Shiama that Queen Iris was wholly committed to kill the King of Darkness. On the other hand, Iris meets up with one of the priests, as she is worried about the next possible attack from the darkness. Hence, she decides to train the forces in advance. Meanwhile, the nameless young boy meets up with the Dark Knight Valis, who notices the boy carrying Skier's sword. Mistaking the boy for a thief, Valis instantly tries to retrieve his late master Skier's sword by force. The young boy then informs him that Skier is dead, but Valis assumes this means he was the one who killed him, so he launches a dark spell attack at the young boy. However, he realizes that this young boy was no match for Skier as he put him to the ground so easily, and asks why he came. The young boy tells Valis that Skier had entrusted him to be the next King of Darkness, and bestowed him with his noble sword, swearing him as the Prince of Darkness. Realizing he's telling the truth, Valis immediately sheathes his sword, and guides the boy to Skier's manor. Back at the castle in the White Kingdom, Shiama finds Queen Iris praying to the progenitor rune. Shiama jokes that Iris looked more like a priestess than a queen, and asks if the entire country of darkness was after the progenitor rune. Iris informs her that it is true, and the King of Darkness is the main one selfishly trying to obtain the progenitor rune, all while the people in the Dark Kingdom are suffering. Iris hopes that the next King of Darkness will preserve the balance like it once was in the past. However, as they were talking, a knight rushes inside the room to inform Iris about an attack on their western capital. The demon leading the attack was none other than the feared Bao, prompting Iris to immediately order Shiama to ready the troops with Fuse. We then see the majestic Queen Iris flying around in her full glory as Shiama telepathically communicates with everyone, informing the people that their kingdom is under attack by vicious monsters near Medes, the western capital. This prompts the knights to prepare their defenses to exterminate Bao, who is oh so powerful. We then see Bao attacking Medes and overpowering anyone in his way as he obliterates every strategic location where the mages were taking cover. As the monstrous Bao was about to squash the ground army with his foot, he is stopped by the formidable Lord Alantia, the leader of the elves. A squad of mages and soldiers take form as Alantia attacks Bao with the power of spirits. He manages to land a couple of blows, but the beast, unaffected by the attacks, proceeds to fight the spirits. Alantia is staggered by the sheer power the beast possessed and is puzzled about his next move, but suddenly Queen Iris of the Kingdom of Light enters the battlefield and challenges Bao head-on. She charges her sword with the power of rune and attacks Bao, who stands the attack. Bao then blows everything and everyone to dust. What a Chad. On the other hand, the squad of mages and soldiers meet two soldiers of the Dark Army who claim to be deserters and common people who were brought into war against their will. They drop their weapons and fall to their knees, but suddenly the true power of darkness takes over them, making the two of them attack the squad. Suddenly more soldiers possessed by the power of dark emerge from the dense forest, outnumbering the squad. It seemed that the queen was powerless against the mighty beast Bao. She tries to summon more power from the rune, but Alantia reminds her of the potential danger of putting too much strain on the rune. She is instead handed the support of Alantia's spirits. Seeing this noob behavior, Bao is disappointed and exits the battlefield. It seems that he was destroying the city just for a fun fight and nothing else. Dawn breaks the sky and the queen oversees the injured. she finds Shyama, who informs her about the attack they just endured. On the other side, we see other royal members of the Kingdom of Dark who were arguing with each other as the king returned back to his palace. He talks to Valis and shares his desire of covering the entire world in darkness, probably because he just likes to use his phone on dark mode. He also says that coexisting with the Kingdom of Light is a stupid idea, and in order to achieve his goals he must strike down everything that comes in his way, and wishes his successors prosperity. As Valis returns back to his home, we see our very own nameless grave-digging hero sitting in Valis' living room. Since the role of Valis is to take care of every possible successor of the Dark King, he is also bound to be loyal and take care of our hero as well. Valis enlightens our hero with the quality of the king is not only to be a master of sword wielding but also a well-versed, knowledgeable person. He tells our hero that the trash way of talking is not fit for a king and he should work on improving his speech pattern while also reading books which contain all the necessary information about ruling the kingdom. As time passes, we see our hero training with Valis and taking an interest in studies. He also helps the community with daily errands. Our hero finally grows a bit stronger and he is given the Skier's old drip that he wore when he was the same age as our hero. We see another candidate of the throne named Lady Garoza, who is out in the field with her army of simps. They are faced with 3 monsters who Lady Garoza incinerates with ease. She gets caught up in her own doing and takes pride, but a surviving beast attacks her. Without much time to attack, Lady Garoza braces herself for the impact, but in the nick of time our hero comes and slashes away the beast. Lady Garoza is entranced by the hero's handsomeness and is left speechless. After her soldiers snap her out of her trance, she invites the hero out for a talk. Late at night in a local bar, Lady Garoza is telling our hero what is expected of the future. She tells him that if he works hard enough, he would be recognized as a genuine Prince of Darkness and would be granted a special sword for him to flex around the city. Unbeknownst to them, a red-haired man named Adele had been eavesdropping on their conversation. Meanwhile, in the palace high above the skies, the queen is figuring out what went down in the recent attack. She found the presence of dark-possessed humans weird. Iris's thoughts drift back to the time before she became queen. She and her sister Shima were once both potential successors to the throne. Despite this, there was no animosity between them as they had promised not to bear any resentment regardless of who was chosen. One day the queen summoned the sisters for an evaluation, but she didn't make a decision at that point. Afterwards, Shima talked about the heavy responsibilities that come with being a queen. She invites Iris to dinner, mentioning that their friend Fuse is eager to see her. Iris accepts the invitation, stating she's also looking forward to seeing Fuse, whom she hasn't seen in a while. That night after dinner, Fuse walks Iris home. On their way, Iris asks Fuse if he thinks she's capable of becoming a queen. Fuse, in response to Iris's question, admits that he doesn't have a definitive answer. However, he pledges that no matter who becomes the sovereign, he will serve loyally as her sword. The next day, Iris is left with lingering doubts as she looks into the horizon. Suddenly, an evil entity of darkness appears before her. With no guards around to help, Iris is forced to request a bit of power from the progenitor rune. Using this power, she successfully vanquishes the dark entity. This victory strengthens Iris's self-confidence. Unexpectedly, the progenitor rune communicates with her, declaring her as the destined successor to the throne. Upon hearing this, Iris vows to herself to become an excellent queen and fulfill all her duties regardless of the sacrifices. She is willing to do anything to bring back balance between the light and the dark. In the present day, back in the Dark Kingdom, our hero is preparing for the competition. Before leaving, he asks Valis if he will be attending the tournament. Valis declines, explaining that he needs to attend to the king's demands. Nevertheless, he expresses confidence that the young boy, representing Skier's family, will triumph in the competition. Thanking Valis, our hero then departs for the tournament. Soon, our boy reaches a coliseum where he'll compete against other potential successors to the throne. Once in the arena, Lady Garoza outlines the rules of the tournament. The contenders need to defeat the most evil creatures and remain standing to move to the next round. She then mentions that the prize for the winner is a legendary sword named the Great Sword of Black. Only the next successor to the king was allowed to wield the sword. The tournament begins. The young competitors face a series of savage beasts, defeating them without much trouble. However, one of the contestants is unable to defeat a monster headed towards her. The other contestants enjoyed the sight as the competition was being thinned out. However, the nameless boy springs into action and saves the contestant's life. The other contestants are angered by the young boy's intervention, and they threaten him to stop. In order to elevate the challenge, the tournament organizers release a Cyclops onto the battlefield. Many of the contestants are swiftly defeated by the creature, but not the young boy. Utilizing all the skills Valis had taught him, the young boy successfully slays the Cyclops. This concludes the first round of the tournament. The only competitors left standing are the nameless boy and Adele, the red-haired boy who was eavesdropping earlier. It turns out that Adele is also a potential successor to the throne. Before the final battle, both finalists take a short break and have a conversation. During their chat, Adele critiques the young boy for having helped a fellow competitor in the first round. Adele views this as a weakness, arguing that a future Dark King should be ruthless and show no mercy. The young boy, however, disagrees. He believes that protecting people no matter what is the most important thing. With their perspectives clear, the young boy and Adele square off in a decisive battle to determine the tournament champion. After a tough struggle, the young boy uses all his skills and decisively triumphs by thwarting Adele's sword away. As the young boy corners his opponent, he chooses not to deliver the final blow. Confused, Adele asks why the young boy doesn't finish him off, to which he explains that killing his opponents contradicts his personal ideals. Fed up with the young boy's self-righteousness, Adele dashes to retrieve his sword. Once again, the young boy finds a way to put Adele in a tough spot. The duel concludes when Adele admits defeat. Once the battle ends, Garoza declares the young boy the rightful Dark Prince and the primary successor to the throne. After the awards ceremony, the young boy receives his prize, the legendary Black Sword. Adele then introduces himself to the young boy, and he asks him to uphold his ideals. Later, Valis meets with the young boy and congratulates him on his tournament victory. He then assigns the young boy a significant mission, one that only the Dark Prince can undertake, delivering a message to the Queen of Light. The young boy agrees to the task. However, it turns out he won't be going alone. Adele, the second most important candidate, will accompany him on his journey. The next day, Adele and the young boy set off for the Kingdom of Light aboard a magical ship. Adele reminds the young boy that the Light and Dark Kingdoms are at war and hence delivering a letter is easier said than done. In the worst-case scenario, the envoy from the Dark Kingdom could be the first to be assassinated. Hence, Adele decides to play the more dangerous role of being an envoy in public as the young boy was expected to become the future King of Darkness. Adele asks the young boy to act as a bodyguard, which was a less demanding and a less dangerous role. Garoza is surprised at Adele's sudden display of friendliness. After a few hours, they reach their destination. Upon their arrival, they are met by Fuse. Initially, the general reacts with hostility, prompting the young boy to reveal his sword. Adele, however, uses his diplomacy to defuse the situation. He also apologizes for any bad impressions they might have caused on their first meeting. Once things have calmed down, Adele asks Fuse to escort them to the Queen as they had an important message from the King of Darkness to deliver. Despite his initial mistrust, Fuse agrees to guide them to the palace to deliver their message. A few minutes later, the nameless boy and Iris encounter each other for the first time. The young boy is immediately enchanted by the Queen's beauty. The Queen and Adele, who was acting as the Dark King's envoy, then start discussing the contents of the letter. The Dark King apparently seeks to form a pact with Iris to defeat Baal, the incarnation of destruction. Baal has been appearing in both the Kingdom of Light and Dark while leaving chaos in his wake. Iris is unsure about accepting the pact as the King of the Dark is notorious for his cruelty. Iris believes that the king may grow aggressive towards the Kingdom of Light after Baal is dealt with. The young boy then mutters that the next King of Darkness will not be cruel. To make sense of the young boy's words, Adele informs Iris about the king's decision to hand down the throne in the near future. Adele suggests that the next successor to the throne may not be as unfriendly as the current tyrannical king. With all the information present, Iris decides to make a clear-cut decision the next day. Fuse then takes Adele and the young boy to a guest room. The young boy asks Fuse about Queen Iris, but Fuse immediately shuts him down as he hated the likes of the dark. Fuse storms away not before reminding Adele and the young boy that the two of them were enemies of the light. After Fuse left, Adele reminds the young boy that they have to remain cautious. Adele does feel that he and the young boy have been unjustly discriminated against since the very moment they stepped foot in the Kingdom of Light. However, the young boy points out that Queen Iris is not prejudiced and is unlike the others. Taking the young boy's word, Adele hopes that the Queen makes a decision in their favor. The next day, Adele and the young boy head on to hear the Queen's decision. Before announcing her decision, Iris directs a question towards the young boy, taking Adele by surprise. Iris asks him what the people of the Black would feel towards the alliance. The young boy reveals that the people of Dark fear dying to Baal. Hence, the young boy believes that the alliance could help save many lives in the Kingdom of Dark and the Kingdom of Light. After hearing the young boy's perspective, Iris reveals that she would ally with the Dark to slay Baal for the common benefit to the people of both the kingdoms. The next day, Iris sets off for the Kingdom of Darkness to consolidate the new alliance with the King of Dark. Back at the Light Kingdom Palace, Fuse informs Shima about the Queen's departure to the Dark Kingdom. Fuse further reveals that Adele and the boy were taken under supervision while the Queen was away. Shima fears that with the Queen absent, Adele and the young boy now have an opportunity to attack and weaken the kingdom. However, Fuse reassures her that he would be in charge of the palace to prevent such a scenario from unfolding. Moreover, Fuse believes that the envoy Adele and the nameless boy were somewhat friendly. Meanwhile, back at the Dark Kingdom, the Dark King's army starts to mobilize, preparing for the anticipated confrontation against Baal. As expected, Valis and Groza take charge, leaving the Dark Kingdom's soldiers to mobilize. Suddenly, Baal emerges, causing chaos and destruction. Valis rushes and orders his troops to follow him, but Baal swats away Valis's troops like flies, surprising Valis. Baal is amused to see Valis's futility. Garoza sends many rock catapults towards Baal, who now dashes to kill Garoza. Garoza uses her powers to create a powerful arrow, but Baal is unaffected. The Dark Army fights valiantly against the beast, but their efforts fall short, and they are swiftly defeated. The only warriors left standing are Valis and Groza, who form the last line of defense. Garoza once again tries to send a blast towards Baal while Valis summons his swords from the void. Despite both of them using their 4-day moves, battling Baal proves futile as he is too powerful. Valis dashes and slashes Baal, but is immobilized by a single roar that Baal sends his way. As Valis and Groza are unable to move because of Baal's roar, their lives hang in the balance. Unexpectedly, the Dark King intervenes, rescuing his 2 remaining warriors. Baal and the Dark King then stand face to face. Having no intention of leaving Baal alive, the king begins to target Baal without break. Baal withstands the attacks, and taunts the king for not living up to his grand title. To help the king slay the beast, Iris binds Baal using magic powers from the progenitor ring. The Dark King uses this as an opportunity to imprison Baal for eternity inside the volcano Tartarus. As the sky clears up by Baal's ceiling, Iris realizes that she is standing face to face with the Dark King. Iris takes her leave as she had helped in defeating Baal as promised in the pact. Meanwhile, back in the Light Kingdom, Shima meets Adele and the young boy. Adele begins to rizz up Shima. Shima pays no attention to his comments, and instead asks about the people of Dark. Adele reveals that the people of Dark had no desire of going to war, but anyone that defied the King of Dark was executed, making the Dark Kingdom the anime North Korea. Suddenly, something catches the eye of the young boy, so he runs towards it, leaving everyone confused. Outside the window nearby, Shima notices that Queen Iris had returned back to the Kingdom of Light. The young boy rushes to meet Queen Iris, who faints due to exhaustion. Luckily, the young boy reaches in time to catch her from her fall. Moments before she fainted, Iris revealed that she was successful in completing the terms of the pact. Fuse and Shima reach the scene, and Shima speculates that Iris had used a lot of power causing her to faint. They immediately rush her to the palace while Adele and the boy head back to their guest room. Inside the palace, Shima uses her magic to heal Iris. Shima reveals that Iris herself had decided to become a medium to the progenitor rune's immense power. Hence, Iris often placed too much strain on herself to put the power she had to good use. Back in the guest room, Adele reveals that he had a huge crush on Shima. Adele also knew that the young boy had the hots for Iris. The young boy is mad that Adele is telling him all of this when Iris was in a bad state. Fuse heads into their room and informs the two about Baal's defeat. With their job completed, Adele decided that it was time that he and the young boy headed back to the Dark Kingdom. Meanwhile, back in the Dark Kingdom, Garoza makes her way back to her house to rest from the previous exhausting battle with Baal. However, on her way, she meets with Valis, who hands her a message to deliver to the Kingdom of Light. Despite her exhaustion, Garoza accepts the task as she would get to meet the Prince of Dark who she had a crush on. Back at the palace in the Light Kingdom, Adele and the young boy head to meet the now recovered queen. Adele thanks her for her help in defeating Baal. Adele further reveals that he intends on suggesting the King of Dark to stop waging wars with the Light Kingdom. Fuse points out that he would be killed if he would do such a thing, but Adele strongly feels that he has to voice the people of Dark that do not wish for a war. Suddenly, a guard from Light informs the Queen about the arrival of a message from the Dark Kingdom. Garoza enters the room and informs the Queen about the Dark King's message, which was a request to extend peaceful affiliations with the Light Kingdom until the damage from Baal on the Dark Kingdom was repaired. The Queen accepts the proposal, As Garoza, Adele and the young boy would be staying as guests, the queen decides to show the three of them around the Light Kingdom. The queen introduces the guests to Theo, who is initially scared as he mistakes the guests as enemies from the Kingdom of Dark. However, he learns that the young boy, Adele and Garoza were friendly. Theo then shows that he was trying to use magic to heal some injured cute monsters which were known as star tanukis. His older brother, Fuse, is surprised to see Theo using healing magic. Theo reveals that he had learned some magic from Shima. Garoza points out that the star tanukis in the Light Kingdom were so well behaved, whereas in the Dark Kingdom, they were totally mischievous. The queen expresses her desire to meet the magical creatures from the dark as well. Adele remarks that the magical creatures in the dark are black and have dark looks. Fuse laughs as he points out that the people of dark themselves were dressed in black from head to toe. Adele then also points out that the people of light were wearing white dresses themselves. Everyone laughs at the totally opposite fashion styles that the dark and light have. Garoza suggests that they exchange their dresses and Shima agrees to the idea. Fuse and Adele are the first ones to go. Fuse's sleeper build becomes more apparent in Adele's dress, which was more revealing. Adele, on the other hand, is less excited to wear the armor. Choosing between Shima and Iris, Garoza then decides to exchange dresses with Iris. However, Shima informs Garoza that a messenger from the dark cannot wear the queen's dress. Hence, Garoza then gives her dress to Iris while using a towel to cover herself. The Garoza's dress sags up on Iris, who is not as thick as Garoza. Shima then exchanges clothes with Garoza, and the two then head on to take the opinion of the males outside. Adele shoulders the young boy to choose his pick, and the young boy bashfully gives an ambiguous answer. All of them then head on to play chess, and ironically, Fuse, the Knight Commander, kept on losing to everyone. As everyone got hungry, Shima suggested that they head on to have dinner together. Shima cooks up a meal, and Garoza also presents some food that she brought along from the Dark Kingdom. Adele finds the cooking in the Light Kingdom more plain to his taste. The young boy and Garoza agree as well, remarking that it lacked more seasoning. Iris, Theo, Fuse and Shima then taste Garoza's food and find it extra salty. Shima realizes that the food in the Dark Kingdom is more heavily seasoned. The young boy then mixes Garoza's food and Shima's food together, which results in a dish that was more to his liking. The others at the table follow along, and are pleasantly surprised to find that the food from the Dark and Light Kingdoms blended perfectly together. After finishing the delicious meal, Fuse and Shima remark that Iris's hand-picked wild greens are also tasty to eat. Iris then plans to have everyone at the table pick out wild greens the next day. Garoza glances over the young boy and grows jealous as he begins to fall in love with Iris. At night, Garoza strolls the palace halls only to find that the young boy was awake at such a late hour, and she offers an ear to listen to his thoughts. Impressed by the queen's humbleness, the young boy reveals that he just came to a realization that Queen Iris was just like any other ordinary person. Garoza remarks that the young boy was like any other ordinary person as well. She then vows to stay with him while he is prince, and she further promises to continue offering support when he becomes the new Dark King. And the young boy is grateful for Garoza's support. The next day, both groups plan another adventure, this time to the forest for gathering wild vegetables. Adele suggests a fun twist before they start. She proposes they form pairs and turn the activity into a friendly competition. The duo that gathers the most vegetables will be declared winners. Garoza's face lights up at this idea because it presents a chance to spend time with the young boy, the main character. Fuse likewise is keen on the idea, hoping he could team up with Queen Iris. Before the vegetable hunting begins, Iris offers to provide some guidance. She shares tips on how to spot and collect the vegetables properly. Seeing the queen's expertise in this field, they decide she should sit out of the competition. Thus, the vegetable collection competition commences. The young boy ends up pairing with little Theo. Their lack of botanical knowledge soon becomes apparent, and they seek advice from Iris. Eventually, Iris ends up joining the young boy's team. The two get to enjoy some alone time during the activity. Fuse and Garoza can't help but observe them, their hearts filled with envy. Garoza reveals that she sympathizes with the young boy's views of peace, and hence she wants the young boy to become the next Dark King. Fuse is impressed that the young boy was very different than he imagined. Finally, all of the teams round up to count their hand picks. Garoza and Fuse's team were only able to find one edible plant while all their other picks were inedible. Adele remarks that his picks were more in number compared to the young boy's picks. However, in counting, the young boy and Theo's team emerge as the winners of the vegetable collection competition. After all the vegetables are gathered, Iris takes charge of preparing lunch with the freshly picked ingredients. While she cooks, everyone else busies themselves collecting firewood and cleaning the vegetables. While collecting firewood with Fuse and Adele, the young boy states that he enjoys basking under the sun in the Light Kingdom, something that was not possible in the Dark Kingdom, where light would rarely appear. Adele watches the young boy in agreement. Suddenly, he realizes that Theo was not with them. The young boy along with Fuse and Adele split up to look for Theo. The young boy looks everywhere, and eventually reaches Iris, who was washing the vegetables. While informing Iris of Theo's sudden disappearance, the young boy accidentally stumbles on a rock and falls face first on Iris, taking himself and her into the water stream nearby. The young boy asks the queen about Theo, only to learn from her that Theo had left earlier with Shima and Garoza. The water-soaked clothes clinging to her body makes the young boy blush, and the queen shares a similar reaction. The awkwardness suggests that they both harbor feelings for each other, a fact that might have been quite clear to anyone paying attention. Despite the awkwardness, the scene continues. The pair then retreat to a private spot to dry their clothes and spend some more time alone. Shima, Garoza and Theo rejoin with Adele and Fuse to prepare lunch. When the young boy and Iris return to the group, now in dry clothes, Garoza can't hide her annoyance at seeing them together. All the characters chip in to prepare lunch. In the end, they sit together to enjoy a tasty meal. As Fuse had previously stated, the guests from Dark enjoy the meal. Shima further brings salt along with her, knowing that the guests from Dark will enjoy more seasoning. It's a cheerful and pleasant time. Unfortunately, this peaceful moment doesn't last long. The very next day, the Dark King commands the young boy and his friends to immediately return to the Dark Kingdom. Before they leave, Iris hands Adele a letter. The letter outlines a proposal for free trade between the Dark and Light Kingdoms. Adele readily agrees to deliver this message to his king. But then his demeanor suddenly changes. He mentions that the Dark Kingdom suffers from a lack of sunlight due to Iris's realm, rendering the land barren. Iris, in response, states that this is just the way the world naturally is. Suddenly, Adele begins to act strangely as he lectures the queen about the elite lifestyle of the light. He then transforms into a demon and lunges at the queen. The young boy reacts instantly, drawing his sword. He kills his comrade to protect Iris. The sight of the young boy's swift and deadly moves leaves Iris shocked. This seems to be a natural reaction to the violent turn of events. After being beaten up by Fuse, the young boy is then seized and confined and is deemed a threat by those who witnessed his actions. This incident breaks the alliance between the Kingdom of Light and the Dark Kingdom. Consequently, Garoza is forced to flee the Light Kingdom without any explanation of what had just unfolded within the palace. The incident deeply disturbs Fuse, as he had hoped that the two kingdoms could coexist peacefully. What troubles him even more is the looming inevitability of war between the two lands, which now seems to be a never-ending conflict. Meanwhile, Iris goes to the room where the progenitor rune resides, seeking guidance. The rune responds by enveloping Iris in a brilliant flash of light. In the meantime, the young boy comes to his senses in a prison cell. Naturally, he starts to reflect on the recent events. He realizes that he had acted on impulse by killing his comrade because he saw Iris's life in danger. He spends his time in prison deep in thought, grappling with the consequences of his actions. Just a few minutes later, Iris, who has transformed into a white cat, visits the dungeon where the young boy is held. She uses magic to unlock his cell and then leads him towards an exit. Eventually, they reach a cliff where the young boy finds his two swords unexpectedly. The white cat changes back into Iris. The boy is initially taken aback by the transformation, but then he remembers that he lives in a world of fantasy, and the shock fades. The two young people join hands, symbolically uniting. It's a touching moment. The young boy vows to aim for peace like Iris, making clear of his intentions that may have been misunderstood because of his rash behavior earlier. The young boy reveals himself to be the Prince of Darkness, and promises to bring his ideals to fruition in the future. Likewise, Iris promises to wait for the boy, and she shows her support in making a peaceful world. Unfortunately, their moment of peace is shattered when soldiers from the Light Kingdom show up to arrest the young boy. Iris doesn't hesitate to tell the young boy to run. After sharing a hug, the young boy retrieves his swords and escapes on a sky ship that conveniently arrives to fetch him. He then returns to the Dark Kingdom. Back in her own realm, Iris is left thinking about the boy. Not long after, her kingdom is attacked by a group of dark beasts, presumably sent by the Dark King. Iris instructs her advisor to rally the kingdom's warriors for battle. In the midst of this, Fuse requests to be temporarily relieved from his duties, leaving the army. He explains his intention to find medicine for Iris, as he believes that she's in poor health. Iris assures him that she will recover and emphasizes his importance in protecting the kingdom. Despite Iris's reassurances, Fuse decides to disobey her orders. He leaves to seek the assistance of Alantia, the Elf King. As the two of them stand in the library, Fuse expresses his concerns to Alantia. Alantia remarks that Iris was quite drained because of her fight previously with Bao. He then reveals that Iris's magical power has returned to normal, but the magical nerves needed to transmit such power are yet to recover, hence being the core reason to her lack in power output. Alantia reveals that there is a way to restore Iris's health. He mentions a mysterious element known as the Pure Soul, which was found in a higher concentration in a remote cave. This element has the ability to heal a person's magical energy. Alantia further explains that if they can get this soul to Iris, she will be healed instantly. So, Alantia and Fuse set out from the capital of the Light Kingdom. Their destination is the cave deep in the forests. Their mission is to find the magical element to cure the queen. Meanwhile, after saying goodbye to Iris, the boy is more determined than ever to see her again. With this in mind, he starts training harder than before. We see him continuing his practice sessions with Valis while the boy is busy training. Feroza appears. She tells him that the Dark King has commanded them to fight some creatures outside the country's capital. Valis suspects that this is just a ploy to keep the boy occupied. Soon after, Valis meets with the Dark King and reports that all the troops are ready to head towards the Light Kingdom. However, the boy remains oblivious to these plans. After leaving the capital, the boy encounters various evil beasts. He successfully fights them off with Garoza's help. Soon after, he watches as a ship from the Dark Kingdom sails towards the Light Kingdom. Suddenly, they are attacked by a flock of flying creatures. The boy manages to defend himself, but Garoza is caught off guard. She loses her balance and falls off a cliff. Seeing her in danger, the boy swiftly moves to save her. Unfortunately, both of them end up stuck on the cliff edge. To make matters worse, a terrifying demon appears on the scene. As danger looms, the boy, without any hesitation, lunges into a fierce battle against the fearsome beast. It's a daring move, but one that reflects his unwavering courage. Meanwhile, Iris, the Queen of Light, displays the same bravery as she stands ready to defend her kingdom against the impending invasion from the Dark King. Facing the formidable army of the Dark Kingdom, Iris decides to confront the adversary head-on. She's not standing alone though. She has the support of Shima and the magical warriors who are steadfastly ready to fight by her side. The NPC mages are about to get eliminated by the monsters from the Dark Kingdom, but Shima saves them in the nick of time. While this intense battle unfolds, General Fuse and Alantia, the Elf King, undertake a mission. They venture deep into a mysterious, foreboding cave. They reach a dead end, but Alantia reveals that there was more that met the eye. To further elaborate, Alantia pulls out one of his arrows and hands one to Fuse as well. Alantia then fires it at the roof of the cave. The rope on the arrow pulls Alantia upwards, revealing a secret passage that was above the supposed dead end. Fuse follows Alantia's lead, but accidentally steps on a loose rock. However, Alantia luckily pulls Fuse up inside the secret passage. As it was a dark passage, Alantia and Fuse kept their guard up. Alantia even pulled out a freaking magical magnifying glass out of all things that allowed him to see a hidden passageway nearby. Alantia then reveals a stock of makeshift bombs that he had brought along. The bombs stored some of the power of the rune. Both Fuse and Alantia then blast the rock in front of them, revealing a crystallized area. Alantia then used his staff along with his knowledge of magic to create a pattern that opened up a path. They finally find the radiant drops that they were after. The drops were a healing remedy for the queen. Fuse rushes to grab the droplets, but Alantia stops and warns him about the soul that was too powerful to contain without proper precautions. Alantia throws a pebble from nearby into the water. The pebble immediately explodes, proving his point from earlier. However, as Iris was growing weaker by the second, Fuse believed that there was no time to devise a plan. He recklessly enters the water and grabs the droplets. Alantia is amazed by Fuse, who rushed in despite the risks that were present. With this valuable medicine in hand, they begin their return journey to the kingdom's capital. Back on the battlefield, Iris continues her resilient struggle against the Dark Kingdom's soldiers. Despite her remarkable skill and strength, the sheer number of enemies is overwhelming. One by one, she defeats the invaders, but their numbers keep increasing, pushing her to her limits. Exhaustion sets in, but before succumbing to fatigue, Iris makes a final protective move. Along with the help of Shima and some other mages, Iris conjures a magical barrier that envelops and safeguards the city. However, the exertion takes a toll, and she collapses to the ground, drained of her energy. Meanwhile, in the Dark Realm, the young boy continues his own struggle against the horned beast. Garoza tries to keep a safe distance while attacking, whereas the young boy rushes in head first to battle the beast. The fight is intense, but the young boy's incredible skill enables him to conquer his adversary. He swings his charged blade at the beast, creating pointed ruptures in the ground that impale the beast, hence revealing the young boy as the victor. He thanks Garoza for her help in defeating the beast. But let's be real, the MVP of the battle was the young boy. Following their triumphant battle, Garoza, in a mood of celebration, proposes a victory dinner. The young boy agrees to her invitation. As they sit down for their meal amidst the calm of the evening, the boy reflects on the promise he made to the Queen of Light. He declares that this promise is his utmost priority, even if it meant that he was imagining an unfulfillable dream. Garoza approaches the boy while prompting the boy to share his visions for the future. Moreover, Garoza confesses her romantic feelings to the boy. However, Garoza is able to read the emotions on the boy's face, suggesting that he only had feelings for Queen Iris. Saddened, Garoza bashfully runs away while crying. Despite her heartbreak, Garoza desires to help the boy in his journey to the throne. Meanwhile, back at the Light Kingdom, Fuse returns to Iris with the medicine in hand. Using her magic, Shima showers the healing drops on Iris. The medicine seems like a success in healing Iris. Shima then heads out to catch Fuse up to speed about the current situation. Shima informs Fuse that the shield that the mages had erected would not last for long. Fuse then decides to prepare the knights with the limited time they had in hand. Confused about the whole situation, Iris heads to the progenitor rune to clear up her mind. The promise that the young boy made with her reoccurs to her, and she smiles, hoping for the best in the future. Fuse interrupts Iris's praying session to inform her about the preparations that were being made. Back in the Dark Kingdom, the boy notices a force of darkness being prepared in the sky. The young boy heads out to inspect, only to be surrounded by civilians that are surprised that the Dark Prince and Garoza were left out from the war efforts. The boy learns that the king was set on defeating the White this time. However, he is then suddenly approached by soldiers that request his company, to which he agrees to tag along. Nearby, Garoza catches sight of the young boy as he is being escorted by soldiers. Back at the Light Kingdom, Theo, Fuse and Shima place their trust in Iris as their whole kingdom is approaching an all-out war. At the same time, Iris begins to imagine the promise the boy made previously, if not for the millionth time. She heads onto the battleground and asks the progenitor rune to divide its power amongst everyone in the Light Kingdom. The war starts as the mages and knights of light kill some of the enemy forces. Suddenly the King of Darkness emerges from the sky, so Iris immediately rushes to subdue him. It begins to dawn on Shima that the sheer number of enemies would be impossible to defeat. One of the soldiers of light is possessed by the dark, and he suddenly begins to pose a threat to civilians. A nearby knight takes down the possessed knight from causing harm. Outside, Theo is nearly attacked by an enemy from dark. Theo is angered and he uses magic to take down the enemy. Meanwhile, the knights are finding it tough to kill the possessed light civilians. Shima and her student mages erect a barrier that keeps the enemies at bay. Fuse begins to get exhausted, but the sheer thought of His Majesty Iris fuels him up. Fuse finds himself facing Valis from the Dark Kingdom. Valis and Fuse introduce themselves as being close guards to their respective king and queen. They both engage in battle while Queen Iris and the King of Darkness fought against each other as well. The king reveals his plans to become the one and only ruler between both the kingdoms. The two point their swords against one another as they release their powers of light and dark respectively. At the same time, the barrier erected by Shima and the mages wears down because of the forces of darkness. As some of the knights and mages get possessed by the darkness, Shima uses her magic to return the people back into their original selves. However, she is unable to properly dispel the possession placed on them, forcing her to ask the progenitor rune for help. Nearby, Fuse and Valis engage in a heated battle, which is brought to life in a literal sense as Valis ignites the surroundings with dark flames. Valis begins to get the upper hand, and he uses the opportunity to lecture Fuse about how weak he was. Likewise, the King of Darkness proves to be stronger than Iris, causing Iris to lose in a physical confrontation. Iris swoops to the ground below after the king strikes her with an attack. Growing desperate, Shima tries to invoke her spells, but it was of no use as her power had already been used. She begins to beg the progenitor rune for power, but it does not respond. Regardless, Shima refuses to back down. Iris, who had landed near Shima, motivates her sister to not give up. Moreover, she reveals that there was still a way to shift the current tide of the battles in their favor. Iris gathers the mages and begins to use the Gear of Fate, which was one of the 7 powers. However, despite their efforts, nothing seemingly changes. Hope runs thin as the King of Dark approaches Shima and Iris. Shima instructs Iris to head to the progenitor room. Iris rushes away from the scene while Shima decides to fight against the king. The king is immediately able to gain the upper hand of the situation as he overpowers Shima with darkness. Back at the Dark Kingdom, the boy is led to Adele by the soldiers of Dark. The boy is surprised to see Adele alive despite killing him earlier. Adele points out that he was a potential candidate to the throne and would not easily go out without a fight. The boy asks him the reason for his attempt of assassination on the queen. Adele reveals that the killing of Iris was the king's will. However, Adele believes that everything worked out for the better in the end as the Dark Kingdom successfully attacked the Light Kingdom. Adele informs the boy about the king, revealing that he strived to be the only one in power. According to Adele, weaklings like the boy could not fathom the ideology of the strong. The boy does not stand for any more nonsense, and he decides to brandish his sword against Adele. Adele reveals that he was engulfed in darkness from head to toe, and hence he uses the darkness to assume a monstrous form. The boy rushes to strike down Adele, but realizes that it would not be as easy as he had assumed. Adele sends a purple beam towards the young boy, however he successfully blocks it. Adele dashes to strike, but the young boy blocks his attack, causing Adele to be pushed away. The boy and Adele begin to go back and forth against each other. The boy charges his sword with power, and swings it towards Adele, causing the ground below to rupture into spikes. However, the battle was far from over as Adele revealed himself to be unharmed from the attack. Adele claws away at the boy's armor, causing the armor to break. Adele manages to land a strike on the young boy and eventually slams his sword away. Adele then impales him with a sword, and the young boy groans in pain. However, as he was bound by Adele's sword, he uses this as an opportunity to strike his own sword on Adele. Adele then reveals that he was just a distraction that was keeping the young boy at bay. With the time that he had bought, the Dark Kingdom was seemingly winning the war against the Light Kingdom. Adele further reveals that the king actually plans on absorbing the progenitor rune, which would cause darkness to spread everywhere and consequently the balance will collapse. People in both of the kingdoms would die as a result. The boy realizes that the king posed a huge threat as he was aiming for total annihilation of each and everything. Adele suddenly vanishes into darkness after being struck by him. The young boy realizes that he has to take action fast as time is already not in his favor. The boy decides to head to the Light Kingdom but is slowed down by a horde of dark forces. To deal with the forces blocking his path, Garoza lends a hand in the fighting. The boy begins to look for a way to reach the Light Kingdom because of the huge distance. When hope was running thin, a power suddenly engulfed the young boy, revealing a new set of wings on his back. The boy takes flight to salvage the conditions in the Kingdom of Light. Meanwhile, back at the Light Kingdom, the king begins to toy with Shima by causing her to gain negative emotions. Shima begins to have an inferiority complex as Iris had become queen instead of her. However, Shima breaks free of the corruption and she then orders the mages nearby to assist in fighting off the monsters. In the meantime, Iris prays to the progenitor rune while expressing her failure in protecting the Light Kingdom and in maintaining the balance between the light and dark. Despite having previously promised to wait for the young boy, Queen Iris breaks into tears as she is forced to use the only possible way available. The queen decides to initiate the rumbling. The boy, who had now reached the Kingdom of Light, tried to hurry towards Queen Iris as he was fearing the worst. Queen Iris decides to sacrifice herself by causing the progenitor rune to destroy the kingdom in order to defeat the King of Darkness that was causing havoc. As the Kingdom of Light was being destroyed, Fuse realized that Iris had decided to sacrifice herself. Unable to accept the events that were unfolding before him, Fuse goes into a spiral of depression. Garoza is able to see the destruction of the Light Kingdom from the Dark Kingdom. Moreover, Theo tries to run away from the scene in hopes of seeking refuge in someplace safe. As the boy reaches the scene, Queen Iris begins to tear up because of their unfulfilled promise. The king realizes that Iris had decided to attack him with the Light Kingdom as well as the progenitor rune. The boy then rushes to the king with his sword, and he pierces the king's chest, fulfilling at least some parts of Iris's wish. However, Fuse is unable to accept Iris's death, and he begins to get mad that she made such a decision. And this brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss out on any more of my recaps. Until next time, take care.